Highly respected members of the Congress, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and my thanks for providing this crucial opportunity for me to be here with you. And congratulations for the anniversary of the Liberal Party. Afghanistan is experiencing the days which has never been expected. 20 years struggles, hope, dreams, and ambitions, but it all at a sudden. It is obviously contrary to what I was speaking 5 years ago here in Belgium. In the speech I delivered in April in the Conference of Hope, I spoke of progress and plan for the future. I asked great people of the Belgium, especially women, to stand by Afghan women for a better future. I asked great people of Belgium, especially to stand with women of Afghanistan. I speak of religious extremes which overran our joint achievement and took us back to 20 years ago. We Afghan women, with assistance of international community and you, the great people of Belgium, organizations like Mothers for Peace made tremendous effort, fought with different challenges faced under the name of tradition and Islam, to obtain our fundamental rights and play our role in building a fair and open society. We were convincing our families and society that women are more honest, hardworking, committed, and their contribution is necessary in building a balanced country. Although our political system was flawed and our politicians were corrupt, but women were going to consolidate their position. We had competent women as ministers, deputies, parliamentarians, managers in public and private offices. We had talented women in different fields, such as sport, art, education, and even in the military services. In all, we were going to build a strong self-confidence among the women. Before the fall of Kabul in the hand of Taliban, when the negotiation was going on in Doha, many, including me, were discussing that the nice word of the Taliban in Doha is not representing the real Taliban on the field. Taliban on the field who are running now their so-called government in Kabul showed their relentless encroachment to the rights of women and minorities. In real, what we see in Kabul is not a structured government, but a division of spoils between different factions of Taliban. Taliban, with abolition of the Islamic Republic constitution, demonstrated their opposition to every kind of approved law. Their so-called Sharia law, with their extra conservative interpretation and ambiguous nature, has no place for women in social life. Hence, they are playing with words, but in real, they do not believe in human and women's rights. They do not believe on gender equality. They do not believe on freedom of speech. They do not believe on intellectual liberty. They do not believe on any freedom of action. Nowadays, whereas they are asking recognition and the support from foreign countries, at the same time, they have closed schools to Afghan girls without any logical justification. As you know, in Afghanistan, we did not have a mixed system at the elementary and secondary education, even in higher education. At first, they announced segregation of female students from male students. But then the newly appointed dean of Kabul University prohibited female students from the university. They expected all female staff of public offices from their job. They replaced the Ministry of Women Affairs with the Ministry of Religious Affairs. They suppressed women protests and pushed women to the kitchen. Some of the Taliban who are not involved in foreign policy have wondered why women, while they have good job at home, looking for job in the offices. It reveals the essence of their mentality toward women. Let me here to take your kind attention to the other page of the life in Afghanistan. I have heard a sad story about the situation. Although it needs to be proved by impartial sources, but it is natural reflection of the Taliban policy towards women in the society. It has been said that a poor father with 2 daughters who had lost his wife in a heart stroke, when he heard the policy of Taliban regarding the education and work of women out of house, hanged himself in the country yard of his house. It means that the policy of Taliban dashed his wishes for his daughters to study and work. Now that there is no study or work for his 2 daughters, then there is no hope for their life. In conclusion, he ended his life. Regarding the freedom of press, Zabihullah Mujahid, the spokesman and current deputy minister of the Taliban's Ministry of Information and Culture, at the first press briefing after the group came to power, said that the Taliban had no problem with media freedom. And he mentioned 3 lines for the media: respect for religion and Islamic principles, and no inciting ethnic sensitivities. But when they hear the voice of women and their demonstration for the women's right reported by the media, they took back their words and started to suppress both women and media. In the result, officials from the Taliban's Ministry of Information and Culture 2 weeks ago met with a number of Afghan journalists in Kabul and informed them of the new media regulation. According to the Human Rights Watch, the regulations are so broad and ambiguous that it virtually prohibits any critical reporting on the Taliban. As you know, recently, in a short span of time, many examples of restrictions and suppression on media and reporters have been reflected. With dominating Afghanistan by the Taliban, not only all the shared achievement which obtained by blood and investment of you and the Afghan people during the past 20 years are in danger of being destroyed, but likewise, by inspiring other potential extremist groups, the fundamentalist Talibanism is going to pose a global challenge to the modern world. In this dire situation, that Taliban suppressed the voice of women in Afghanistan, all the hope pinned to international communities to use its leverage for the minority and the Afghan women's right. I decisively request you to stand by your values and principles, the values which we and Mothers for Peace worked for. Also, I ask you to exert your authority to convince the government to make its recognition unconditional. Another suggestion that I want to take into your notice is about economic situation in Afghanistan. People are passing their time in misery. No job, no services, and no hope. I am talking of the people, not the Taliban. We should not allow Taliban and their foreign supporters to advance their politics or agenda by the international funds or humanitarian assistance. My last suggestion is that let us, as Belgium is considered de facto capital of European Union, make it as flagship of Afghan women's rights. Let us from here call on all countries believing in women's rights to stand firm with their values and Afghan women's. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Razia. Thank you very much for this inspiring part of the show. Thank you.
Whew.